Mythical Island is here, and there's some insane new cards that I would love to try. So for that reason I'll be going over all the new cards. We're close to reaching 1000 subs as well, so please hit the subscribe button if you want to see more in the future. But for now, let's get into it. Okay, so let's take a look at all the new cards, new abilities, new art. Oh, I'm so excited for this. So first we have Execute. So this one has a new move. It's a card we already have, of course, but new picture. And the move now called Growth Spurt. So this can take an energy from your energy zone and attach it to any Pokemon. So if you then look at Executor, the new one, you can clearly see this one needs 4 grass energy. And this one does 20 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. However, this needs 4 energy, so this new Execute ties in very nicely with the new Executor. However, I think that this new Execute can also work very well with the old Executor and Executor EX for that matter. Because with this, you can add Executor to any deck that you want. Because you don't need a grass energy deck anymore, because you can get the grass energy from Execute's move. So that's something very excited, and I'd love to try and see. Hopefully, maybe we'll see in the future in some meta decks as well. And then next we have the big card, of course, Celebi. Celebi has a huge move called Powerful Bloom. It flips a coin for each energy attached to this Pokemon, and it does 20 damage for each of those. So this is huge because it has huge potential, right? Because if you have 2 energy is 100 damage maybe, 4 energy is 200 damage. However, there's something that this card ties in very well with, and if you look at the next card in this deck, or in this expansion, this is the Snivy Servine Superior line. So Snivy, decent starter, 40 damage, 70 HP, I mean needs 2 energy, so it's like Bulbasaur in that sense. Servine, 50 damage, 2 energy needed, okay, fair, but superior. Superior has a unique ability called Jungle Totem. It mentions that each grass energy attached to your grass Pokemon provides 2 grass energy, and this effect doesn't stack. So what this means is that, for example, if you put 2 energy in Superior, you're able to use Solar Beam because it counts as 4. However, if you pair this with Celebi, 2 energy becomes 4, meaning you can, instead of max 100 damage, you can do max 200. You add an extra energy, it's max 300. You add an extra energy, it's max 400. This is huge because Celebi is already strong enough, I would say. But being able to sort of have a potential 400 damage quite early on, you only need 4 energy, it's not that much to be honest, is insane if you have Superior there. So Superior for sure is a huge benefit to any grass deck, and especially Celebi. Of course it ties into well as well with Venusaur and other high energy demanding grass starters of a grass Pokemon, but Celebi Superior seems like a potential new meta. Next we have Morlaw and Shiinotic. I mean, Morlaw is not as special, but Shiinotic is able to put a Pokemon asleep. It's like the grass version of Frostmoth in the end. Then we have Dhelmise. So Dhelmise I think is one of the weaker new additions. It has a move called Energy Whip. It does 20 damage normally, but if you have 4 grass energy, so instead of 1 you have 4, you're able to do 90 damage. However, I don't see this being that useful because, again, you're not easily going to get to 4 energy regardless. Of course, if you use Superior, it's easier. However, I would say with Superior, it's better to add other cards to it than Dhelmise. So these were all the grass starters, and then we have a look at the fire ones. So fire has a new Ponyta and Rapidash card. So Ponyta now has a new move called Stomp, and I love the art design by the way. It's quite cute and it's a little bit abstract as well, which I quite like. So Stomp does 10 damage normally, but if you flip a coin and get heads, it does 40 damage. So that is actually, I think, a bit better than the original Ponyta, which does 20 damage normally. I think with this one, it's worth the additional risk that you have to only do 10 damage. So I think this can replace many Ponytas in Blaine decks that already exist. So Rapidash on the other hand though, same HP, beautiful art design with the colors, oh, this is amazing. It has now a new move called Rising Lunge. It requires 2 energy instead of 1. And if you flip a coin, if heads, this attack does 60 more damage. So you're able to do 100 damage early on. If you add Blaine as well, you're able to do 130 damage, which is pretty insane. I think this one is also better than the original Rapidash. Even though it requires 1 more energy, I think it could be quite useful to be honest. Next we have Magmar, and Magmar I would say is again another disappointing one maybe. It does 80 damage, which is huge, but it requires 2 energy and both of those energies will be gone after using that move. On the other hand, yeah, it has potential for ATM is huge. Add a Blaine in again, it's 110 damage. It's not nothing, and it's a basic card, right? However, I think that Rapidash will still outperform it. I think there's better fire Pokemon out there. Next we have a new Pokemon. It's my favorite bug type Pokemon, like many other people I guess, because it's the only cool looking one. I'm sorry to all the other bug Pokemon out there. But we have Larvesta and Volcarona. Larvesta is a basic Pokemon, 80 HP, 30 damage with 2 energy. Decent HP as well, which is quite nice. And then we have Volcarona, and this one has a unique move called Volcanic Ash. It is able to do 80 damage to any of your opponent's Pokemon, so you can target benched Pokemon, and this is pretty significant. Even though you have to discard 2 of your fire energy, the ability to do 80 to any of your opponent's bench Pokemon is huge. It's a stage 1, so you can get this up quite early. It requires free energy, which is a bit annoying, but you can target any setting up Pokemon in your opponent's bench. You can target the one that is left behind so you can win the game. There's many options you can use this Pokemon, so it has utility, which I'm quite excited about to see how it could work. Next we have a new Salandit and Salazzle. So Salandit has a move now called Venoshock, which does more damage if the opponent's Pokemon is poisoned. It does 50 damage then. However, it's a bit annoying that it's a basic Pokemon, it's the one you start with, nothing will be poisoned yet, so I don't see full use of it. Whereas Salazzle, the evolved version, is able to poison Pokemon. So I would love if the moves were other way around, to be honest, which would make more sense of course, but Salazzle is able to poison with 30 damage. And Salandit cannot make use of it unless you of course have 2 in the line, but then the low HP of Salandit don't make it that useful. I don't think this is too good of a new addition, but it's better than the original Salandit Salazzle, I think, because it has some utility to it. So next we go into Water, and with Water we have a few new cards as well. Most excitingly, of course, first is Magikarp and Gyarados EX. So if a Magikarp, 30 HP, I mean, it doesn't do much, of course. You put this on the bench, hope it doesn't die. It has a ability of a move as well to leap out, meaning you can always switch it. You don't need an X speed or the new supporter card I'll go into later. Gyarados EX, on the other hand, oh wow, what a card. 180 HP, Rampaging Whirlpool attack, able to do 140 damage. And with this move, it will discard a random energy from among the energy attached to all Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's. So I'm struggling a little bit to understand this, because in my opinion this can go both ways. Does it take 1 energy from one Pokemon in total, or does it take 1 energy from each Pokemon that is there? That part I'm not completely sure about. And also, does this count for Gyarados itself, basically? Does it also take potentially energies from Gyarados? Because otherwise it becomes a little bit annoying to use. However, it is good when you have it up there and you can take energy from the opponent's active Pokemon. You can be in a better position, of course. I have to see this getting used. I don't think this will be a huge meta card, but I think it has potential for sure. So next we have Vaporeon. Vaporeon has, again, it's a new card and the design is amazing, especially of the Star Rarity card, which looks beautiful in my mind, with the Finneon swimming around and Vaporeon in the middle, but also the base Vaporeon has a pretty cool looking card, I have to say. So this Vaporeon has a new ability called Washout, and this Washout ability could be huge for the for the water decks. So Washout, what you can do is you can move a water energy from one of your bench Pokemon to your active Pokemon as much as you would like during a turn. So what you can do with this is you use a Misty on your Articuno, let's say, and then you put your Articuno to the bench at one point. You can put that leftover energy onto your new active Pokemon, which is huge, especially with this new Gyarados. You can easily get to the 4 energy mark. So I think maybe Gyarados and Vaporeon together could be an interesting match, but let's see how that goes. Next we have Finneon and Lumineon. It's not my favorite Pokemon, I have to say, but it's a nice card, I have to say. Finneon is nice, 60 HP, 20 damage, standard. And Lumineon, on the other hand, 2 energy needed to do Aqua Liner, which is basically doing 50 damage to any of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Again, pretty cool. 50 damage is quite a bit, especially to do the bench Pokemon. Maybe having Lumineon early on, 50 damage is not nothing, to be honest, so it could be useful in certain water decks. Next we have Choodle and Dreadnought. I quite like this Pokemon. Choodle is very cute, love the design. 80 HP, which is quite a lot, I have to say, for a basic card that can still evolve, and 2 energy needed to do Bite for 30 damage. Dreadnought, on the other hand, has the move Crunch. It has a huge amount of HP as well, and Crunch does 70 damage, and you can then flip a coin, and if heads, you can discard a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So similar to like Fearow in Genetic Apex, it has the potential to disrupt your opponent's setting up, which could be quite interesting. However, it does need free energy, But maybe again with the Vaporeon and with Misty, there is some potential use here as well. I would love to try it and let's see how that goes. Next we have Cramorant, the last water card that's new. With 80 HP, not that much, but it's a basic Pokemon and has the move called Dive. So with Dive you can flip a coin, and if you get heads, your opponent can... all the damage done from your opponent next turn and effects of attacks will be prevented. So what this means is basically your opponent cannot poison you, it cannot attack you, it cannot do anything to this Pokemon next turn, which is quite significant. It's good for starting up. When you have something on the bench you need to protect as well, you don't want to have anything happen to it. However, I don't think it's prevent Sabrina because it only says damage and effects of attack. So it's only attacks, right? So it's not counting things like Sabrina and whatsoever. So it might have some potential. It does require free energy though, which is quite steep, but let's see how that goes. Then we go into Electric, and first we have a new Pikachu card. Of course, Pikachu being the mascot, it needs a new card. This time it has a similar move to the EX card, Circle Circuit, and it also has similar mechanic. What this move does, it does 10 damage for each of your benched electric Pokemon. So in this case, the max damage that you can do is 30. Which is not bad. I think it's quite good for a starter Pokemon. It might be a good addition to regular Pikachu EX decks to have this as an option as well. Then Raichu, however, has something significant. It's like Articuno. It does 60 damage normally, but 20 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, and this is quite big, I have to say. Especially if you combine maybe Lieutenant Surge or something like that. Being able to do 20 to each bench Pokemon and then 60 to the regular one, I would say this is better than Articuno's attack. Next we have Electabuzz with the new move Thunder Spear. This does 40 damage to any of your opponent's Pokemon, meaning you can do bench Pokemon, active Pokemon. It's a decent move, 2 energy cost, not bad. I mean, I think there's uses for both Electabuzzes in that sense. Is this one better than the other one? I couldn't say. I think they have their own utility. Next we have Joltik and Galvantula. Joltik, very low HP but decent attack. So you need Galvantula early, otherwise Joltik dies. But Galvantula is basically like an Arbok. It has the move Electro Web, allowing you to trap an opponent's Pokemon so it can't retreat. However, this one does 70 damage, while Arbok only does 60, so it has more capabilities. Also, Electric is a little bit better. Might be useful in Pika decks as well, where you can sort of disrupt your opponent's moving around the Pokemon. However, Galvantula only has 80 HP, where Arbok has 100, so it's good. It definitely for sure has its use. I think it's quite interesting to use this one. Next we have Dedenne. Dedenne has the move Thundershock. This is actually quite good, especially again in Pika decks. Of course Pika decks will pop up a lot, but Pika decks are very good. It has the move Thundershock, which does 10 damage, but also you can flip a coin, and if heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is then paralyzed, meaning it can't move, it can't retreat, it can't attack. Decent card. I think it could be useful in some Pika decks. Otherwise, I mean, you can't do much else. But I really like the Star Rarity card of Dedenne. And if you count, let me know how many you count. I count 10. I think there's 10 Dedennes on it. So next we have Psychic cards. Let's first go over the new Mew card. I mean, Mew doesn't have much use. You can reveal your opponent's hand, which is useful, but Mew itself doesn't do much else. However, the new Mew EX, that card is I think gonna be a staple in the new meta. Mew EX has decent HP with 130, but has the move Psyshot, able to do 20 damage. Sure, nothing much, but then it's the second move that's important, which is Genome Hacking. Genome Hacking is where you can basically copy any of your opponent's active Pokemon attacks and use it as this attack. So say you're facing a Charizard, using Genome Hacking you can do 200 damage with just free Psychic Energy. I'm a bit curious about it, but I don't think also because Charizard's attack states, for example, that you have to discard 2 Fire Energy specifically. So when Mew uses this move, I don't think it discards any energy, meaning in principle you could use it again, but of course using Crimson Storm means that the opponent faints, unless they have another Charizard EX, you can copy it of course. But I think this card has huge potential, especially when your opponent has fully set up. When you bring this in, it can knock it out maybe. I mean, you're basically on equal footing as your opponent, right, at all times. Next we have Sigilyph. Sigilyph has a move called Spike Pro. It's similar to Meowth's move where, like Payday, whenever you attack you can draw a card. It has better HP, it's also a basic card than Meowth. However, Meowth is a colorless, so you can add to any deck. Sigilyph is a Psychic Energy requirement, meaning it only really works in Psychic decks, I would say. However, I think this could be really good in the Beautiful Gardevoir deck, because you are really dependent in that deck on getting Gardevoir up and running. And by having Sigilif, you can draw more cards. I think this could be a better addition to it as well. Then we have Elgyem and Beheeyem. Elgyem has 60 HP, does 20 damage with Headbutt. It's a cute card. I like Elgyem. He's a very cute, funny guy. Beheeyem though, I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of this type of Pokemon, but it is what it is. It has the move called Mind Check. It does 20 more damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, meaning it does a total of 70 damage max. Decent card. I mean, it requires 1 energy, so it's not bad at all. Could be used. Let's see. Next we have the Florges line with Flabebe, Floette and Florges, of course. And I think this line is very interesting. So Flabebe, low HP, but it can put any Pokemon to sleep, similar to like the new Jigglypuff promo. Floette is similar to like Tangela, 70 HP and does 40 damage, but can heal 10 damage per turn. And then Florges. Florges is, I think, pretty good as well. It has 120 HP, which is decent. It is a stage 2 though, but the move Bloomshine does both 80 damage, but also heals 20 damage from each of your Pokemon. And I think this is pretty huge. It's basically like Butterfree's ability combined into a move, and it only needs 2 energy. I think this could be a very good addition to certain decks. Next we have Swirlix and Slurpuff, and I hate this card. I'll just say to you, I don't like Swirlix, I don't like Slurpuff, I don't like either of them. One reason is I don't like the Pokemon. Second reason is I opened a lot of packs today. I got so many Swirlixes. I don't want more. Swirlix has decent HP, simple move, Fairy Wind, 20 damage. Slurpuff has 2 energy costs to do Magical Shot for 60 damage. I mean, it's your standard cards. I'm not sure they will have much use or much usage in metas. Then we go into the fighting cards, and first we have a new Mankey card. This Mankey card has 50 HP and has a move called Focus Fist. It's similar to like Skiddo. It does a move which either does nothing or does 50 damage depending on a coin flip. I don't know, I think the promo Mankey is a little bit better because it ties in very well into the other Primeape. Because this Primeape also, 80 HP, not that great compared to the other Primeape I think, but Punch does 50 damage, and that's the only thing it can do. It just has 1 energy cost, Punch, 50 damage. I think having the other Primeape, which has potential of doing 100 damage and otherwise does 40, is much better than this Primeape. Then we have Geodude, Graveler and Golem. I'm happy they get another card set because I think Brock is a decent card, but Golem isn't the best line. Maybe this Golem is better. Let's see. Geodude, decent HP, 30 damage, standard card. I like the design of the card, I have to say though. Graveler, don't like the design that much, but it has the move called Lunge Out for 40 damage. And then we have Golem with Guard Press. Guard Press does 120 damage, which is very big, I have to say. And during your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes minus 30 damage from attacks. So Golem already has huge HP, so I think if you get Golem up and running, I think this is pretty much unstoppable. So maybe with Brock you can get this one earlier. It is a stage 2 though, so it's quite tricky to get it there, but I think there is potential to using it. Next we have Aerodactyl EX, another of the EX cards. This one again has a very unique new ability called Primeval Law, or Primeval Law, I don't know how to pronounce it. What this ability does is your opponent can't play any Pokemon from their hand to evolve their active Pokemon. Meaning if your opponent has let's say a Charmander in the active slot, it can't evolve it to Charmeleon or Charizard EX. Which could be actually quite useful, I have to say, because most people do evolve their evolved ones on the bench. Of course, there is, for example, Executor. That's something you always put on the front line first, and if you put Aerodactyl in, they can't evolve it to Executor, giving you an easy KO on Execute, for example. Again, also the move Land Crush, 2 energy needed, is not that much, and does 80 damage, which is pretty decent. So I think this card has some potential as well. Next we have Marshadow, and I love both card designs. I mean the original one, or the regular one, whatever you want to call it, the diamond one, has some cool looking colors for the Marshadow. And then you have the Star Rarity Marshadow with a beautiful design as well. Oh, I love it, I think it's great. So this Marshadow has the move called Revenge. Revenge does 40 damage unless a Pokemon of yours was knocked out in the previous turn by an attack, and does then 100 damage. It's very situational, right? I mean, I don't think it will have huge usage. However, perhaps maybe this is your last card that you have, and then your opponent just knocks out your setup Strongmon, whatever, and then you can bring in Marshadow, just attack once and retreat it again. That could be a way of using it. It's a basic card, so that's quite nice. However, it's very situational. I don't see too much use of it, but let's see what happens in the future, of course, because I hope there's a lot of creative people out there making the most creative decks as possible. I would love to see them. And next we have the last fighting card called Stonejourner. Stonejourner, 120 HP, 90 damage with Mega Kick. It's like an Onyx card, right? Pretty standard in that sense. Nothing significant about it, but good HP, good damage. Let's see. Then we go into Dark, and Dark has finding some new additions as well. I mean, you're no longer relying on just Coughing and Arbok because no one uses Zubat Golbat, and yeah, Muk didn't have much use either. But now we have a new Coughing and Wheezing first. So Coughing has a move similar to like Nidoran or Nidoran in the Genetic Apex set, where it has the move Division, putting one random Coughing from your deck onto your bench. So this is able to give you another Coughing early on, which could be quite useful to be honest. Wheezing on the other hand also has a new move called Smokescreen, 50 damage as well, but also what it does is that your defending Pokemon, if it tries to attack, it has to flip a coin to do so. So it's like Vulpix's attack in Genetic Apex, but then opposite. Instead of you having to flip the coin, your opponent has to flip the coin. This Wheezing is slightly worse than the Genetic Apex Wheezing because you can't poison. However, the move is more useful. I think it has more potential in terms of being a damage sponge or like a tank. So if you put it in an active position, I think you can last quite long, whereas the other Wheezing has a bit more attacking potential with the poison and with the 30 attack. Also, the other Wheezing only needs 1 energy, this one needs 2. Next, we have Purloin and Liepard. Purloin, standard card again. I love Purloin, I think it's cute. Again, the cute mischievous cards, I love those. So Purloin, 20 damage, 60 HP, nothing special. Liepard on the other hand, again 1 energy requirement, slash for 40 damage, 90 HP. It's a standard card, it doesn't do anything significant, but I like them all. I like the Pokemon, so I'm happy with it. Next we have Venipede, Whirlipede and Scolipede. And now we have another Pokemon that can poison again. I mean, Venipede doesn't do anything special, but Whirlipede is the one that can poison. It does 20 damage and can poison, and then you can evolve into Scolipede, who then has the Venoshock move, meaning it can do more damage if your opponent is poisoned. I think this is better than Muk, because it only needs 2 energy, it has 2 retreat cost as well. I think this has potential, and this is stage 2, but I think it's quite interesting, because 70 damage plus 50 is quite a bit. Maybe if you have another Mon, like a Grimer on the bench that can poison as well, could be useful, and then you can switch it out, but Grimer has high retreat cost. Maybe there's something you can play around with there. Could be fun. Next we have a new Dragon card. It's the only Dragon card though, but I think it's a fun one. I love Radagon, and I think the design of this card is beautiful as well. It has 100 HP, it's a basic card, and has the ability Rough Skin. Similar to like Poliwrath, basically if any Pokemon attacks you, it does 20 damage back to the attacking Pokemon. The most interesting thing though, I have to say about this card, is its energy cost for its move, which is Fire, Water, and then a colorless. So in Dragonite, Dragonite is a standalone card. You can build a deck around Dragonite, meaning you can just have Electric and Water in your deck and you'll be fine in that sense. Radagon though, on the other hand, is not a standalone card, right? You can't just use it by itself, you need to have something strong around it. However, it requires Fire and Water. Is there anything good that you combine from Fire and Water to make a decent deck? And that I'm a bit struggling with, I have to say. I don't think there's anything huge or significant that you can use together with Radagon to make a good staple deck. However, again, I hope there's creative people out there, please make some fun decks with Radagon. Next we go into another new EX card, into the colorless cards, which is a new Pidgey, Pidgeotto and a Pidgeot EX. So Pidgey, standard card, 50 HP, 20 damage. Pidgeotto though, 90 HP, but it needs 3 energy to attack with Wing Attack, so I don't think the middle stage is that good. But then you have Pidgeot EX with huge HP, 170, and then also only needing 3 energy, so that's fine, with the move Scattering Cyclone. It does basically 80 damage, plus an additional 20 for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, so it has a max of 140 damage, which is pretty huge I have to say, for only 30 energy. Could be useful. It's colorless as well, so you can add it to any deck, which has its potential uses. Don't think it's the best EX card we've seen, but could be useful. Next we have Tauros. Tauros has 100 HP, and this one I think will be used in so many decks. Fighting Tackle is a move that does 40 damage normally, unless the Pokemon you're attacking is an EX Pokemon, able to do 120 damage total. And this is huge, because this allows you to knock out Pika EX. Pika EX of course is the main meta right now, and if you now add Tauros to any deck, you are able to counter it very easily with Fighting Tackle Tauros. Let's see if it actually will be useful in the future. I mean, it has 2 retreat costs as well, so it's not that bad. I think it has potential for sure. So let's see if it does well, and hopefully stops from Pika being the main meta, and maybe we get some other metas going up to the top. like a Celebi Superior. Next we have actually one of my the cards I'm looking most forward to, which is EV. I know we have many EV cards before, but this one at least has a different move called Continuous Steps. Continuous Steps does 20 damage per coin flip. So similar to like Lickitung, where I did a video on, but this case it only does 20 damage instead of 60, but it only needs 1 energy, right? So you can do 20 damage per coin flip if you do, until you get tails. And I want to make a video on EV. Similar to what I did with Lickitung, I want to make an EV video where I win with only EV. I just put EV in and hope it can knock out any Pokemon I'm facing. It would be so funny. I hope I can do it. Let's see if that works. So that's my plan for the future. It is a little heads up. Stay tuned for that one. Then next we have Chatot. Chatot again has a unique ability of a move called Mimic. What it does is it puts your hand back into your deck and you draw a card for each card in your opponent's hand. And I think this has a lot of use, to be honest. Because what it does is you can use whatever cards you have in your hand, then use Mimic and get a fresh set of cards again. I think this is pretty useful to start with, especially if your opponent has a lot of draw support in the beginning. You're basically able to copy that draw support and even add on more draw support. I think this is a huge card and it could be better than maybe having a Pokeball or an Oki even for that matter, right? Of course you might lose a point if your opponent knocks it out, but I think it's pretty decent, to be honest. Next we have the Old Amber. It's the same card, so I'm gonna skip this one immediately. And then we have the Pokemon Flute. The Pokemon Flute is a new item card. So now we're going to the item cards and supporter cards. And this Pokemon Flute does something unique. It puts a basic Pokemon from your opponent's discard pile back onto the bench. So it's very situational where this might be useful. Maybe if your opponent has a strong Pokemon in the active position and nothing on the bench and you have Sabrina in your hand and you need to switch it out, that could be useful. Or maybe, I don't know, you have an opponent Pikachu and they also have a colorless card in their deck and you want to put the colorless back on it. I don't know. There might be some situational uses for it. However, I love this card though. I don't think it has much use now, but maybe in the future when there's more cards that can make use of this could be a staple card. Next we have Mythical Slap. Mythical Slap is a card that mainly fits in Psychic decks. What it does is you can look at your next card. If it's a Psychic Pokemon, you can put it in your hand. If it's not a Psychic Pokemon, you put it on the bottom of your deck. This could again be useful maybe in a Mewtwo Gardevoir deck or any kind of Psychic deck. It's like drawing a card. I don't know. If you don't add it, you will always draw a card, right? So it's sort of, I don't think this is too useful, but maybe some people surprise me with it, who knows. Next we have the first new trainer card, Budding Expeditioner, and this card is specific to only one Pokemon, which is Mew EX. What it does is basically like Koga, it takes the Mew EX in your active position and puts it back into your hand. And I think that's why Mew EX is even stronger than it could be, because this card makes it basically unkillable sometimes, right? Similar to like with Weezing and Koga, you might be close to killing Weezing and then they Koga it out of there. Super annoying. I think with this one, same principle applies. Next we have Blue. Blue is like an opposite Giovanni. What it does is that all your Pokemon take minus 10 damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon next turn. Meaning, for example, in Articuno, it won't do bench damage either. It will stop all 10 damage. Could be useful. I don't know. Again, a bit situational. I'm not sure it will be too meta, but who knows. And then last but not least, we have Leaf. Leaf is like X-Speed on steroids. What it does is it allows you to reduce the retreat cost by 2 of your active Pokemon. Again, very useful, however, it does take up the supporter slot, right? So if you use this card, you can't combine it with like a Sabrina or Giovanni or whatever. That's the only annoying thing about it, but otherwise it's very useful to reduce it by 2, and maybe you can not use X-Speeds and use something else instead. I don't know. Could be good. Let's see. So these are all the new cards. Of course, there's many new card designs as well. I think it's very fun. I'm very excited about it. I can't wait to build some decks. So far, I did 30 packs. I opened them. I sadly couldn't manage to film it. However, I have a Celebi now, I have a Mew, I have a Gyarados. So I'm happy to start trying out some new decks in the future. And stay tuned for this EV video because I will do one as soon as I have my second EV. Cheers, thank you for watching and please subscribe if you liked it. I'll do more fun videos in the future and I'm planning to do another pack battle as well soon. See ya!